Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, an NBA and a rap star separately call out Seattle's insanity. But before we get to that awesome audio, time for your daily dose of adrenaline.
You want me to stick this into my heart? Are you nuts?
Do you realize what the Democrats are doing? My Democrat friends out there, do you guys realize what you're doing to yourselves? Every time you double down on a failed policy, you just create more Republicans. You just create more conservatives. You just get people moving a little bit more to the right. There's a meme that's great. It's Mel Gibson in the 1980s looking all chill. Actually, it's the 90s. It was from Forever Young when he's all clean cut and all... This was me voting for Trump in 2016, right? And then there's him in Braveheart with the blue and the hair and the sword and the blood running down his face because you've been through so much after a while that you just say, enough is enough. This is where we're drawing the line. And we've been hammering this story for most of the week now about this illegal alien truck driver who was illegally given a commercial driver's license, made an illegal U-turn, killing 3 people in a minivan on a Florida highway. We found out this guy had licenses issued by Washington. We found out this guy had licenses issued by California and New Mexico. We found out about driver's schools that we don't even know if he went to or not, that were paying people to pass people who never should have had a commercial driver's license. Then yesterday, thanks to some of our wonderful listeners who are now members of Doge Washington, by the way, they went to the Washington State Checkbook because they listened to the show. And what did they find out? That those schools were getting thousands of dollars of your taxpayer money for this bribery scandal. Then we got more information today. These schools, it wasn't just one school in southern Washington, just one school in Oregon. There's about a dozen of these schools up and down the West Coast. How many of these illegal truckers that were certified are on our roads right now, and are we safe? And everybody thinks about this because I know that when I drive on a freeway, I drive like a maniac, but I know that when I'm around truckers, when there's one on one side and one on the other side, I get a little bit more cautious. I know if I'm passing in front of one, they have limited stopping range. Now imagine they don't have the proper training to be driving one of those suckers. It is not easy to drive a truck. Some people look down on truckers and think, oh, you're just driving all day. It's not easy. It's not easy to be a bus driver. What are you like with your kids in the back seat when they're freaking out? Now imagine you got 50 of them and they ain't your kids. They're what my wife calls other people's kids, OPKs. That's the term me and my wife use for OPK, for other people's kids. Mike knows what I'm talking about. So sometimes I'll say, we're going to a movie screening. And Mike likes to make fun of what he knows my son is going to do at the movie. Because it's not Mike's kid, it's my kid. He's going to make fun of Kevin about the popcorn butter. He's going to ask if it's a Marvel movie. Is Galactus in it going to be in this thing? We know these things come up because it's other people's kids. Though I will tell you, sidebar, little tangent here. When you get to the point where your kids are out of the house, my second kid left home today for a gap year in Israel. When you get to that point, I can ignore babies on planes so much easier now because it's somebody else's kid and I don't have to deal with it. My brain has been wired in such a way. Baby crying, got to go deal with it. No. It's somebody else's kid, not my problem. Oh, it's great. Sometimes you just feel bad for the parents. It doesn't even bother you. And now with the world of noise-canceling headphones, I don't even care if there's a baby next to me. I am in a wonderful, wonderful world. I just care if they have to get up to go to the bathroom and change the kid all the times. I can really ignore all that stuff. But getting back to this, what I can't ignore is what's happening on our roads. This is something that affects every single person. And when you have somebody like Gavin Newsom, or you have somebody like Bob Ferguson, constantly doubling down, so literally an hour after we find out that this guy, this illegal alien, who allegedly, even though there's video of it, allegedly killed 3 people in Florida. Got his driver's license here. You have Bob Ferguson holding a press conference where he's trying to say we're going to protect the illegal aliens. This is an 80-20 issue. And Trump keeps putting the Democrats on the wrong side of everything. According to Fox News, the illegal immigrant who is facing 3 counts of vehicular homicide in Florida was extradited from California to the Sunshine State on Thursday. Florida Lieutenant Governor Jay Collins told reporters, "We're here today because of tragedy. 3 lives lost. 3 Floridians' lives ended early. We're here in California because when this tragic accident happened and 3 Floridian lives were lost, he fled back to California where in 2018 he illegally crossed the border, came here and ended up getting a commercial driver's license, a CDL." So, the Department of Transportation said that after the crash, the driver failed English and road sign tests. Yeah, I can't imagine how that might be a problem. During a Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration's interview with the driver, investigators administered an English language proficiency assessment in accordance with the guidance that's on the books. The driver failed the assessment, providing correct responses to just 2 of 12 verbal questions and only accurately identifying 1 of 4 highway traffic signs. Collins did not hold back in his criticism of California Governor Gavin Newsom's immigration policies during a news conference. He went to California to hold this news conference, by the way, right in Gavin Newsom's backyard. How many more lives have to be lost because of Gavin Newsom's failed policies? How many more lives have to be lost because of fentanyl, because of gangs, because of rampant disregard for American citizens? Something fascinating was happening on social media when I was posting these stories yesterday. So what I've been doing a lot recently is we do something on the show. I do a little bit more research, find out a little bit more, and post more at night. If you're not following me on social media, you should be doing so. Ari Hoffman Official, Facebook and Instagram, the Hofffather at Twitter. When we found out all the money stuff, that all this money was going to these schools, when we found that out and posted that last night, people were saying, Ari, there was a truck accident in Tacoma. There were 2 truck accidents in Tacoma. There was a truck accident here. There was a truck accident there. Do you know if they have anything to do with this? And I have to tell you the following. I don't know. I don't know because you know what? I didn't know there was a truck accident in Tacoma. I didn't know there was 2 truck accidents in Tacoma. So I need help from all of you. It was a caller to the show. It was a texter, actually, to this show, who went to the Washington State checkbook and said, Ari, that school you just mentioned, they're getting money from them. When you guys hear about these stories, 1 Google search of the name of the driver. 1 little Google search, you'd be amazed what you can find out. I sometimes get mad that I work faster than the police departments with some of these cases. I was getting mad about it today with the Hmasniks at Microsoft and University of Washington and all that, how they still haven't charged anybody, and it's been 3 months since they caused over $1 million worth of damage. I know who all these guys are. What's the holdup here? We'll discuss that later in the show. But getting back to this, where's Gavin Newsom? Gavin Newsom is posting stupid memes online. Gavin Newsom's social media team is busy trying to be Donald Trump. They're trying to out-Trump Trump. It just comes off as inauthentic, which is what Gavin Newsom is. He's posting these pictures of himself back in college with the scarf around his neck. You know who he reminds me of? The jerky shrink mathematician guy in Good Will Hunting. Who is that? One of the Skarsgård brothers, right? Kevin Peters, one of them. You know who I'm talking about. The guy who's Robin Williams' friend who actually won whatever prize. You know who I'm talking about. That's what he reminds me of. It's not authentic when he does the Trump stuff. Only Trump can be Trump. By the way, cautionary tale to J.D. Vance also. Don't try to be Trump. You can be part of MAGA. Don't try to be Trump. Be your own thing, which is what J.D. Vance is actually pretty good at doing. Keep going on the road you're going on. Gavin Newsom is trying to see if he can get Democrats to do this whole negative MAGA, NAGA. I don't know what we call this. I don't know what we call the anti-MAGA. But DAGA? I don't know. What do we call this thing? Make America Terrible Again? MATA? I don't know what we call this thing. But basically, he's trying to do that rather than deal with the fact that his policies got 3 people killed. What's Bob Ferguson saying? I'm going to use this as an opportunity to run for president or become attorney general. Not, hey, maybe I got to fess up and own up to the disaster that I caused. These are things that have to be fixed, and they don't actually want to talk about the issues. Because when you look at the issues, when you look at what's going on, the Republicans are on the right side of so many things right now. In fact, some of my Democrat friends have said, I don't completely disagree with him on what he's doing in Washington, D.C. I don't completely disagree with him with what's going on with the illegal aliens. I don't completely disagree with him on that. I'm hearing a lot more of that, which is why we're going to discuss later in the show how Democrats have lost about 2 million registered voters and Republicans have picked up about 2 million registered voters. Now, it's a long ways out from 2026. It's a long ways out from 2028. Don't read into this at all because we've seen red waves before and we've seen when they haven't actually materialized as we hoped that they would. So don't get so excited about the voter trends. But with regards to what's happening here, Donald Trump has managed to put the Democrats on the wrong side of so many issues time and time again. And an illegal alien, that is the one who killed these people allegedly, yeah, you're on the wrong side. Bob Ferguson made such a blunder, but I think it was intentional. I think he did this purposely. So Bob Ferguson stood up and was talking about our values when he's talking about the illegal aliens and how he wants to fight against Trump and Bondi in deporting illegal alien criminals. Brandy Cruz went down to the press conference, and she took a picture from where she was sitting at the press conference. And you see all the people that Bob Ferguson has assembled as props behind him, Democratic representatives in the legislature, Democratic senators, Seattle Mayor Bruce Harrell. But there's somebody off to the left that you couldn't necessarily see. He's right behind Chris Rakedal. You couldn't see him on TV. If not for this picture, I don't think this would have gotten noticed, but this picture went viral once I pointed this out. What is it? His name is Imran Siddiqui. This guy is in charge of CARE Washington, the Council on American Islamic Relations. These are the guys who are the unindicted co-conspirators in the Holy Land Foundation trial, which was the largest terror trial in U.S. history. It was about funding money to terrorist organizations through a 501c3, a non-profit in the U.S. The Holy Land Foundation used to be the largest Muslim charity in the U.S. And what happened was they were funneling their donations to Hamas. So Bob Ferguson has the guy who's head of this organization behind him. Gets worse than that. One of the people who was part of Bob Ferguson's press conference specifically says, I want to thank CARE for their efforts after Bob Ferguson says our values. Whose values is that? Americans or Hamas's? What are we talking about here? This guy ran unsuccessfully against Democrat Kim Schreier, claiming she had failed moral leadership after she voted to censure a member of her own party, Rashida Tlaib, for anti-Semitic remarks. On October 7, 2023, do you know what Siddiqui said? He was posting all day, manically posting all day, criticizing Democrats for condemning Hamas. The main one, which encompasses everything he was posting that day, during the attacks, while they are still going on, at 1:27 p.m. during the massacre, all the politicians issuing statements, please STFU. If you know, you know. He's basically telling them, stop talking. You're on the wrong side because you're not supporting Hamas. This is a guy who has been panelist for anti-Israel, anti-American events with Linda Sarsour. Remember her? She was booted from the Women's March because she's such a Looney Tune anti-Semite. He's standing behind Chris Rakedal, Washington superintendent. His organization sent out an email bragging that they had managed to keep the words "from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free" in curriculum. That they managed to keep anti-American stuff in the curriculum. That they managed to keep anti-Semitic stuff in the curriculum. How the hell I ended up on their list, I have no idea. But I'm getting their emails. This is an organization where their head, their founder, Nihad Awad, said the October 7th attacks made him happy. And this is who Bob Ferguson says he shares values with? This is who he puts up there as somebody who we want to call out and thank his organization? Bob Ferguson is in the pocket of CARE. People from CARE are backing his campaigns. They honored him at their dinner. Do you know who he was representing when he went against the travel ban that Donald Trump was doing to try and keep terrorists out of this country? Because we couldn't verify anything with Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan, all these other countries they were coming from, Yemen, not places we have issues with now. He was representing CARE. He was supporting CARE. In fact, he added them to be part of his domestic terrorism study. And here's something else. Washington State gives them $623,000 a year. So an organization which has ties to Hamas, your tax dollars are now going to. In fact, Senator Tom Cotton has called for an investigation into CARE with the IRS because they don't reveal all the stuff they should be revealing that your church, that your synagogue, that your school, that your organization has to reveal. And yet they've got ties to Hamas. So when Bob Ferguson says, our values, are they for illegal aliens who kill people? Are they for illegal aliens who rape people? Are they for terrorists? Are they for people who support terrorists? What values is he talking about? Because Bob Ferguson's policies are getting people killed. You know what he could have said at the press conference? He could have gone a little bit more nuanced, right? He could have said, you know what? Here's what we're going to do. The criminals, we're going to work with ICE, and ICE can have the criminals, and they can take the people in the jails who have been convicted of a crime, but everybody deserves their day in court, and we're not going to let you just pick people off the streets. Could have done that. But no, he is so TDS, so Trump derangement syndrome, he can't even do that. And he knows what his supporters, like the people in CARE, will do to him if he does. Look what happened when Bob Ferguson tried to go moderate for half a second. The Democrats in the legislature came down on him like a ton of bricks and said, no, you don't. We're not going to play that game. There's no nuance here at all. It's just, nope, Trump said it, it's bad. So Bob Ferguson is now on the side, and all the Democrats are now on the side of let's support the people who aren't citizens of the U.S. Let's support the criminals. Let's support the drug dealers. Let's support all these bad things. And the question is, will anybody in Washington actually wake up? Will any of those people who vote blue, no matter who vote for the Democrat no matter what, are they actually paying attention yet? Are they? Something I'm encouraged by is a lot of this stuff is getting a lot more traction on social media than it used to. And every time I go to an event, I hear the same thing. You know, I'm a Democrat, but things have just gotten too crazy around here. Just too crazy around here that now I find myself listening to your show and agreeing with you. That was, you know, my favorite compliment I got recently. This one cracked me up. When I did that interview with NPR over the democracy vouchers, a friend of mine comes up to me in synagogue. Ari, I was listening to NPR like I always do. And I heard you on there, and I was really surprised because I was agreeing more with you than the person you were talking to. This is a person who disagrees with me on politics all the time, but they didn't want to say it out loud. I feel a swell moving, but it's going to take effort. It's going to take you. So I go back to my original pitch. A lot of you on social media are saying, Ari, what about this case? What about that case? I need your help because there is no way just me and Mike can find all this stuff ourselves. And we work next to a newsroom. There's too much going on. If you saw something about truck accidents that were in Tacoma yesterday, find out who the driver was. Look at the news reports. Look up the accident reports. You can get all this stuff online. And then say, Ari, can you help me find out who this guy is? Ari, can you help me find out if this guy's in the country legally? Happy to help you there. But I need your tips. So you send them over to us, ari@kvi.com, ari@kvi.com. More than happy to get that stuff from you guys. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line, take a call from Pete in Redmond. Pete, what's going on, man? Hello, Pete. Pete going once. Pete going twice. And sold. We go back to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line, take a call from Ron in Tacoma. Ron, what's up, man?
Well, I got something I want to ask you, but before I get to that, I just wondered, you know, that $42 million that Mr. Ferguson seems to have, last I heard it was racketeering. You would have thought that would prevent him from doing anything, but maybe did that go to CARE? I'm just wondering. But anyways, before we...
Ron, I'm not sure what you're talking about because we just told you exactly how much went to CARE.
Yeah, well, I know, but there was $42 million that apparently he had for racketeering that he was under suspicion for. That I've never heard
Oh, the
outcome of that
legal
so
stuff.
far.
The legal stuff that all got dropped. But well, here's the thing. Who's going to hold him responsible in Washington? What, the courts?
Yeah, nobody.
Right?
Exactly.
What, the attorney general? Who's going to hold him accountable? What's your main point, Ron?
So my main point is here we are with a federal judge out here shooting his mouth off, saying that apparently Alina Hava is she's not illegally serving as an acting U.S. attorney. Well, I got a couple questions here. Number one, is that true? Number two, if it isn't true, I'm wondering where did this judge get the
Hang
idea
on a
to
second.
come
Ron,
out
I
here?
got to stop you right there. I saw the headline on this. I have not looked into the case. There was a lot of news today. So do me a favor. Send me exactly what you're talking about, arikvi.com, so I can get into it, okay?
Sure thing. My question, though, is when you do get to the bottom of it, does this judge have some kind of court proceeding that he's involved in to be able to say that, or is he out using his platform as a judge to get to interfere in our elections again?
Well, I would say we know there's a lot of judges like that. Appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, give me a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, my friends, lots more to discuss as the show continues, including your calls, your texts about the truck driver, plus also an NBA star and a rap star, each separately call out Seattle's insanity. We'll have that insane audio for you when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, coming up at 5:45, your chance to win fantabulous prizes, including a $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card, plus so much more. Yeah, another reason always keep your radio tuned to 570 KVI. Left on your dial, always right on the issues. You can also stream us at KVI.com, download the KVI app, and, of course, subscribe on whatever your preferred podcast platform is. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line. Take a call from Steve in Redmond. Steve, what's going on, man?
The truck driving. I know this one didn't happen in Washington, but on my way out to Washington, I was driving through Nebraska on I-80, about 70 miles an hour. I come up on this truck. I didn't realize it at the time, but I got just about past him, and he swerved into my lane, hit the back end of my Suburban, and luckily it was just a side swipe. I got up ahead of him, and I slowed way down to see if he'd stop. He wouldn't stop, so I just let him pass, and then I followed him to the next exit. Luckily, he took the exit, but he was from one shoulder to the other shoulder, and so I notified. He stopped at the exit. He went onto the on-ramp. I thought he was going to get back on the highway, but he stopped, and so I called law enforcement. They said, all right, we'll be there. Just stay there. Don't approach the truck or anything. And long story short, he ended up going to jail. He blew a .283, 11 o'clock in the morning, driving a big rig down the interstate at 70 miles an hour. I don't know if he was legal or not.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's what people don't realize here, Steve. What they don't realize is that these things are giant death machines, and that's any vehicle for that matter. You're talking about 18,000 pounds that could have killed somebody. Years ago, I was driving back with some of my friends. We had spent a weekend at Brandeis University, and we're driving from Boston back to New York. That's about a 4-hour drive, depending on how you're driving. It's the middle of the night, and we've got a car that's a 5-seater, and we've got 5 people in it, and the back was filled with our luggage. And out of nowhere, this truck driver just slammed into us in the back, rear-ended us. And he didn't stop. He just kept going. The car, luckily, it had all that luggage back there. Otherwise, we would have been in serious trouble. But we don't even know who that truck driver was. Just took off and kept going. And I'm not saying this to disparage truck drivers. I'm saying this is why you really have to trust the people on your roads. Steve, appreciate the story. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. We go back to the Warrior Injury Law studio line, take a call from Leonard in Shoreline. Leonard, what's going on?
Hey, nothing much, sir. I just got home from replacing an ORCA card, which I lost yesterday. So I didn't mind paying. I didn't mind going in to have that done. But anyway, what I wanted to explain to you about is, you explained earlier about the truck driver that ended up causing this damage and killing 3 people. Hey, if you really want to know where you can find illegal immigrant truck drivers on the road right now, check CB radio channel number 17. It's got a whole ton of them from Tijuana.
I don't know anything about that. I don't know the CB radio channels. I don't know any of that, but I'll take your word for it. Appreciate the call, Leonard. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. NBA star Michael Porter Jr. You might know him because he's a local boy. Went to Nathan Hale High School. Nathan Hale High School right here in Seattle. Would you like to hear what he was dealing with when he was in high school? And, by the way, this just backs up everything we're talking about on the show during Miseducation.
Have you guys heard of the furries thing?
Yeah. Well,
the school
people
I
that
went
wear
to,
tails?
I went to Seattle my senior year of high school. I learned about furries, and furries are basically these kids that go to school, but they think they're like a animal, like they think they're a raccoon or they think they're a cat, and they'll the schools will provide them litter boxes and things like that.
Litter
Furries.
boxes?
I guess it's respectful to address them the way they want to be addressed.
Okay. Now, here's the thing. I've seen some crazy stuff in the Seattle public schools. The thing is about this, whether it's true, whether it's not true, I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it at all from all the crazy stuff. And I used to volunteer in Seattle public schools. This is the kind of stuff that I completely believe. I identify as this. Call me Moonbeam, whatever it is. None of this surprises me. Does it surprise you? No, of course not. In fact, rapper Big Sean, I'm not familiar with Big Sean's work. I'm not somebody in the rap world, but Big Sean had a concert in Seattle. Listen to what he said, pardon the language.
Seattle, you know, we was in Seattle all day yesterday, and we went and got some Thai food. I with the Thai food very crazy. We went to our little spot, and I was like, I want to walk back to the hotel, and it was a couple miles. And we walked back, and I haven't seen this. I went to high school in Detroit in like a kind of crazy neighborhood. I haven't seen this since high school. We saw a young lady doing crack. I'm like, I know it sounds crazy, like, with kids around. And she whipped the pipe out and was doing crack. And there were cops around. And I was like, damn, Seattle, I didn't know Seattle was like that. That's y'all kind of up here, but I love the city so much, I swear. Y'all make some...
I love that last part. Your city's I love the city so much. Wait, I went on a tangent. Oh, no. Due to the unfreezing process, I've lost control of my inner monologue. As somebody who loses control of his inner monologue from time to time, I can say that's a real thing. But he's literally called... How many other... Duff McKagan. Remember when he did that interview and he was talking about how he came back to Seattle and how bad it was? I mean, this is something that happens all the time. And you've heard it from your friends. I hear it from my family members. Wow, Ari, haven't been here in a while, but holy cow, what happened to this place? Unfortunately, this is just what's happening to our beautiful city under terrible, terrible leadership. Thank God in Washington, D.C., they have good leadership. When we come back, my friends, more of your calls, more of your texts. Plus, is Donald Trump going on a ride-along with the police and the National Guard tonight in D.C.? That sounds like a lot of fun. I'd watch that version of Cops. We'll tell you all about it when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KBI. I sometimes forget how many truck drivers we have that listen to the show. I love when you guys call in, by the way. Just make sure you're using hands-free devices. Make sure you're not texting me while you're driving the trucks, okay? But I do love when you guys are in touch and tell us you're out there listening, especially because I love hearing the interesting places you're calling from, or because sometimes you're listening on the app, wherever else you're going. That just puts a huge smile on my face, by the way. So President Trump says that he's going out on a ride-along with the National Guard tonight. I love President Trump, love the National Guard, love what they've done with D.C. You really think they're going to find anything with the 50-car motorcade with them? Oh, no, they're coming. They're coming. How do you know they're coming? I mean, it'd be kind of fun if they just took him out in a Humvee. What, you think there's not going to be a whole motorcade following that Humvee? Of course there will be. At the same time, it's nice. It's nice to know a president can actually climb up into the Humvee. It's nice that the president actually knows where he's going. It's nice that the president can be up late at night, past 5 o'clock, shall we say. But we know this is a publicity stunt. But the truth is, what's he actually going to find on the streets? Fox News has a report for us.
When the National Guard hit the ground in Washington last week, that city's crime fight went into overdrive. And now we're seeing the impact and the dramatic reductions in crime. When the National Guard rolled into Washington last week, the locals seemed skeptical.
The crime is minimal here. There's not really a lot of crime here. It looks like window dressings to me.
But with the Guard on the ground, crime is on the decline. For the first time in a long time, D.C. has gone 7 days without a homicide.
Hang on. 7 days without a homicide in D.C.? I love how low the bar is for D.C., that just going 7 days without a homicide is a big deal. Yeah, you shouldn't have a homicide once every 7 days, or once every 6 days, or once every 5 days, or once every 4 days. But when you have 173 homicides in a year, do the math, guys. Yeah, I'm sure some weeks it's double homicides or triple homicides or whatever. But at the same time, that's a lot of dead people. That's every couple days. You shouldn't have to live like this. J.D. Vance did a sit-down interview last night. Here's what he said.
Violent crime has dropped in D.C. 35% in 9 days. Robberies in D.C. have dropped 55% in 9 days. And it highlights the fact that this living with lawlessness and disorder, that's fundamentally a question of political will. If you've got the political will to enforce the law, you can make even cities like D.C. safe again. And that's what we're demonstrating. And I hope that the American people take an important lesson from this, because obviously D.C. is a federal city. New York, L.A., these places are not. I hope the American people just recognize that you don't have to live with lawlessness. You don't have to live with third world murder rates. If you just take control of these cities, you can make them safe places to live in.
Exactly. So because the left is on the wrong side of this issue, because the media is on the wrong side of this issue, they have to look for outrage even when there isn't any. There's a brief scene on the National Mall yesterday, which a local reporter captured the arrest of a man by federal agents. The Department of Homeland Security later confirmed the suspect, who was screaming out, "No, I didn't do it," was an illegal immigrant with a serious criminal record. NBC Washington reporter Amy Cho posted on X, breaking, just saw D.C. police plus federal agents detain a man on the National Mall. He appeared to try and escape and then was quickly tackled to the ground by several agents and was screaming in Spanish, "Please, I'm not a criminal. I work here. I want to be with my family." The Department of Homeland Security directly replied to Cho's post saying, this illegal alien from Mexico was previously arrested in January of 2024 in Fairfax County for aggravated sexual assault of a child under 13. Every single time the media tries this crocodile tear sob story nonsense, every single time, what do we always find out? There's more to the story. DHS said he entered, had a final order of removal, chose to voluntarily return twice, illegally entered 3 times. Thank you to law enforcement for getting him off Washington, D.C. streets. Once again, the media has egg on their face. However, sometimes things don't look too great on our side either. Kristi Noem made a big announcement out the White House fence, which was, I'd say, ridiculed, mocked, out at the, not the White House, out the border wall. The border fence, the border wall, which was mocked and ridiculed. And as somebody who used to be in construction, I'm going to tell you why. First, listen to what she said.
Remember that a nation without borders is no nation at all. And we're so thankful that we have a president that understands that and understands that a secure border is important to our country's future. Now, if you look at the structure that's behind me, it's tall, which makes it very, very difficult to climb, almost impossible. It also goes deep into the ground, which would make it very difficult, if not impossible, to dig under. And today, we are also going to be painting it black. That is specifically at the request of the president, who understands that in the hot temperatures down here, when something is painted black, it gets even warmer, and it will make it even harder for people to climb.
Okay. So the media took this thing and did what the media does of, they're making a big deal out of this. Look, first of all, when you have metal out there in the desert, in the elements, you have to paint it. Otherwise, you have to put some primer or something on it. You have to do something to it, or you're going to have problems. It's metal in the desert. Anybody who went on one of those 1980s metal slides as a kid knows what it does to your backside. I probably still have scars back there from being a child. You don't need to paint it black. You need to put some kind of paint on it. But Donald Trump understands the optics. Let me tell you, Christy, here's what we're going to do. We need to put some primer on that. I know construction. I built the most beautiful buildings in New York City and Atlantic City and Las Vegas and all over the world. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to put some black paint on it because black will make it hotter. That's what'll happen. Wait, I have an idea. Let's have a press event. Make it the most beautiful press event. Down, show off the border wall. It'll be great. The media did not understand what was happening here. The media did not understand, and the Trump administration tried to use it to their advantage. Either way, what they're showing is, look at this giant wall. You can't get over it. You can't get under it. It's really, really hot. We need to paint it because it's out in the desert. You know what I noticed? When Joe Biden stopped the construction on the wall, it was rusting because they just stopped it, and they didn't actually put the primer or anything else you have to do to this thing. And it was falling apart, and they were selling off pieces of it. You know what else President Trump is doing? Getting back the pieces that were sold for pennies on the dollar at the auction house. Make everything a press conference because then the media has to respond to every single thing he says. And while they lose their minds, I'm not tired of the winning. I love how the media keeps saying, this isn't what Americans voted for. This is exactly what I voted for. When we come back, my friends, looks like the NFL has not learned their lesson about going woke and going broke. We're going to tell you the stupidity they have prepared for you for this season. When we come back, you're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. The NFL again this year will cover its fields with social justice slogans for the season, according to ESPN. Fans attending games will see phrases stenciled into the end zone such as end racism, stop hate, choose love. You know what, guys? If that actually worked, all those murals on the ground might have worked by now. It doesn't actually accomplish anything. Look, you want to do a fundraiser for some cause, a percentage of your ticket sales go to something? Sure, okay. Everybody does that in sports. But the blatant virtue signaling on the fields, what happened to Seahawks? I'm not saying they're replacing what it says in the end zone, but still, you wrote something on a field, the ground, where everybody walks on it. That's not respect to your messaging. It's stupid. It's just like the pride crosswalks. In other countries, they put things on the ground they don't care about. This is just dumb virtue signaling is all it is. And does this get you fans? Do you think this gets you fans? No. If anything, people just go, enough. Enough. I can't watch the NBA anymore. One, because the Knicks weren't good until this year. And that's a long time to wait. From 1999 till now, that's a really long time to wait. But two, I got tired of being lectured when I'm watching sports. I don't want to be lectured. I just want to watch the game. That is all I want. You want to lecture me during commercials, I'll make fun of you, but fine. Somebody paid for that ad. I know you got to pay the bills. I know you got to pay your players. I get that. But this nonsense on the field, enough. Enough already. If people want to virtue signal themselves, let them do that. If people want to represent causes, I represent causes every day. I'm wearing causes I do, right? At the same time, I'm not putting it over on the radio stuff that we do. Just, you have a cause? Do your cause. Fine, I understand. But enough of this nonsense. Everybody's so tired of it. And it reminds me, when I used to schedule youth events, if there was a Seahawks game day, couldn't schedule it that day. I needed the school calendars, I needed the Jewish calendars for the holidays, and I needed the Seahawks calendar. Didn't need any other sport. Just needed that to make sure there were no conflicts. Nowadays, Seahawks are playing well. I might have missed it. Okay, I can catch it later. Unfortunately, that's what happens when you do all this. Now, meanwhile, the flip side of this is there's a new survey out on the Washington Commanders/Redskins from The Economist, and is one of the dumbest surveys I've ever seen. It says 45% of U.S. adults prefer the football team name Washington Redskins over the Washington, D.C.-based football team's new name, the Washington Commanders. Do you know why this is nonsense? One, who cares what the whole U.S. says? It's D.C.'s team. You want to rename the Seahawks or something like that? Ask the Seattle area people. What do we care what the rest of the U.S. says? For all you know, some people in D.C. might like this new stupid name. That's number one. Number two, did you happen to ask these people if they're football fans? Or did you just say, hey, how do you feel about this versus that? This is one of the dumbest polls I have ever seen. And I happen to think it was really terrible what they did to the Redskins, where they got rid of their trademark and did everything they possibly could to get them to change the name. I think that was terrible. I think that was wrong. But at the same time, this poll, I hate stupid polls like this. I really, really, really do. This one here from Jason in Lacey. Jason says, when I was getting my CDL, the instructor said something that really struck home, how dangerous this equipment is. He said, if you lose your brakes while going down a hill and you don't see a runway ramp, you ram the truck into a cliff and take one for the team. Better you than a family 5 you will kill if you hit. Which, by the way, that shows you how dangerous this is. I've seen Ice Road Truckers. I've seen the show. I don't watch it religiously. I've seen it. I thought it was cool. I don't know how people watch entire seasons of it. But I get it. I understand it. And that's something very, very noble they tell people. Plus, think about the weight. When I had a small trailer on my pickup truck, if you didn't put that stuff in properly, that thing was all over the place. In my opinion, you should have to get a license to have a trailer. How many people out there do you see zipping around with trailers who have no idea what they're doing? I can only imagine what it's like when you got 18,000 pounds behind you. Lots more to discuss as the show continues. Those of you who are headed home right now might be in for a traffic surprise due to some insanity going on at the Microsoft campus. We'll tell you what's going on when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour is Washington, the most dangerous state in the U.S., and the Yankees draft a player who drew swastikas? I always knew those guys were evil. But before we get to any of that, we don't do traffic on this show. But I thought for those of you, those two of you, that take the light rail out on the east side, because as I understand it, nobody takes light rail out on the east side because it doesn't really go anywhere. But for those of you who might be out there, you might have to worry about the Redmond light rail station, the one near Microsoft, because apparently the Hmasniks are out there right now as we speak having a press conference. According to their flyer, they want you to join the worker intifada. You mean the armed uprising? You know, we had a whole thing here at our office where they do, if you have a coworker who you think might be a mass shooter. Wait, you're literally calling for a worker intifada, an armed uprising at your workplace. Normally you report that kind of stuff to a superior, but you guys are calling for that? Is that what you're calling on the Microsoft campus? Vigil for Palestinian martyrs and press conference. And potluck. No, that was the other. This is so ridiculous. So wait a second. You're having a vigil for the Palestinian terrorists. That's what martyrs are. Terrorists. And press conference. Yes, it's going to be like one of those Sawant-type protest pop press conferences where they just rail and lecture and scream, and I wonder if anybody from the media is actually going to show up. That is going on right now. The worker intifada remains undeterred. Now, these are the Hmasniks that were arrested at Microsoft campus yesterday, that were thrown off the Microsoft campus the day before. Yesterday, about 20 of them were arrested. The authorities say 18. The Hmasniks say 20. Okay, let's just compromise and say 19. They were arrested on campus because they vandalized the campus. They tried to set up a liberated zone. Oh, we're not calling it an autonomous zone? Does that have bad connotations? We're not going to do that? What they do, they showed up with a bunch of tents they got at REI. They set them up. They started taking the furniture from the Microsoft campus. Okay, for those of you who haven't been to the Microsoft campus, they have outdoor seating, and they were having a farmer's market. The Hmasniks really ruin everything. These big corporations, they bring in arcades, they bring on food trucks, they bring in farmers markets, they bring in stuff to entertain the employees. Wait a second. You guys wanted a workers' intifada. You guys just disrupted the farmers market. Don't tell me that you support the workers when you're interrupting these farmers who came here to sell stuff to the tech bros. And you guys ruined that because you guys had to go pouring blood paint or whatever it was all over the Microsoft logo. Now, the media got this completely wrong. Mike and I were getting live updates of this story yesterday during the show. And what did I say to you, Mike? I said, something's going on. I need to see exactly what's happening. We're not going to do this right now. Better to be right than be first. From our friend Rick Van Cise, our old boss here. That's what he used to say all the time. And I'm so glad we waited. Do you know how the media reported this thing? Microsoft employees, Microsoft employees, Microsoft employees. There were a few dozen of them out there. Guess how many of them were actual Microsoft employees? You ready? You ready for the number? Let's say there were 35 or 45 of them out there. Would you like to know how many were Microsoft employees? One. One was a Microsoft employee. 3 of them were ex-Microsoft employees. And now that I have all their names, I'm not ready to go live with their names yet, except for one of them. Now that I have all their names, they are professional agitators. In fact, I'm convinced they only got these jobs so that they could protest Microsoft or whatever thing they're mad about that day. We want more food in the cafeteria or whatever it is. The one who we're aware of, who we are very well aware of, as a matter of fact, is one of the employees who got fired in October. I'll remind you of this story. Tell me if this sounds familiar to you at all. Microsoft has fired 2 of its employees who organized an anti-Israel event at the company's Redmond, Washington headquarters. Hossam Nasser and Abdel Raham Abdo Mohammed were part of a coalition of the tech giant's employees who called themselves No Asia for Apartheid, protesting against the sale of Microsoft cloud computing technology to Israel, despite one of Microsoft's biggest research and development sites being located in the Jewish states. So these guys poured blood all over the stuff again. It was at the exact same thing. He called his former employer an evil Zionist corporation facilitating and empowering a genocide. But he's a well-known activist who was recently arrested, not recently, this was a year ago already, who was arrested for disrupting a meeting of the University of Washington Board of Regents Jewish students, faculty, and the board had to be escorted out of the building by police after Mabed and his anti-Israel followers took over the meeting where community members had come to voice their concerns about anti-Semitism on campus. In one of his Instagram posts, Nasser featured a U.S. flag being burned at a pro-Hamas event and wrote that the flag represents, this is the U.S. flag, death, murder, destruction, and pain, genocide, mass murder, mass graves. The flag represents beheaded babies, torn limbs, scorched bodies, death to the U.S. empire and its killing machine, free Palestine from the river to the sea. This guy sounds like he's a lot of fun at parties. I'll say that. Before he came to the Seattle area, he co-founded the Harvard Alumni for Palestine and was co-president of the university's Palestine Solidarity Committee, an alternative name for for Students for Justice in Palestine, which is linked to terrorism and the anti-Semitic boycott, divest, sanction movement against the Jewish state. Nasser bragged to local media about his participation in local protests, including shutting down the light rail here in Seattle and the Gaza camp at the University of Washington. Now, this guy, we've seen him. We've seen him at these protests. He is a professional activist. Bad timing for David Horsey over at the Seattle Times. David Horsey is the guy who makes all their cartoons and stuff. Seattle Times sent out an email today. There are still people in this country who believe the streets of Seattle are occupied by violent hordes of anarchists, David Horsey writes. Are they not? Are they not? Anytime there is an excuse, these lunatics show up, whether it's in Redmond, whether it's in Bellevue, whether it's at Cal Anderson Park, whether it's downtown at the Federal Building. They show up whenever they want. David Horsey's trying to dispel that, saying, we don't live in an anarchist jurisdiction. Yes, we do. Want me to prove it, Mr. Horsey? I will prove this to you. Yesterday, we did the story about how Christians had to move their concert from Cal Anderson Park to Gasworks Park because Antifa had threatened the event. If there aren't hordes of anarchists, why'd they have to move it? Better yet, on Memorial Day, this year, just a couple months ago, those Christians had a concert in Cal Anderson Park. And who showed up? The hordes of anarchists to throw urine at them and assault them. And when they got mad that the mayor defended the hordes of anarchists, which you say don't exist, and demonized his own police department and the Christians who were having a concert, when the Christians went to City Hall to call for the mayor's resignation, guess who showed up again? The hordes of anarchists. When ICE started doing its thing locally, who showed up at the Federal Building to vandalize the entire building, to block the entrances? The hordes of anarchists. In Tukwila at the ICE facility. When they showed up there, who showed up? The hordes of anarchists. You may say they don't exist. They exist. They're there. They're not just an idea. Antifa is very well organized. We see it all the time. They're working with the Hmasniks. They work with the trans Tifa. They work with anybody who's against something here. They are about sowing anarchy. They are about creating anarchy. They are about destruction. They just want to see the U.S. burn. And they are happy to latch on to whoever's cause that is, as long as it's on the left-wing side. That's what they do. So you've got these activists who are now going to claim they're Microsoft employees out at the Microsoft train station. Okay, let's break this down for a second. They're having a little presser today. How many people actually ride the Redmond light rail at that station? How many people? I was joking with some friends of mine at Microsoft today. They go, nobody's going to ride that thing until it actually connects to Seattle. And didn't we do the story last week that project has been delayed yet again? Yet again. So if Hmasniks have a press conference and nobody shows up, did it even happen? This is what's going on here. It's absolutely crazy that we're having this kind of nonsense. So they're going to do this. Are they going to try and shut down the light rail, or they're just having a press conference this time? And who are they doing it for? For terrorists. This is their priorities. Yes, David Horsey from the Seattle Times. We are an anarchist jurisdiction. Yes, David Horsey from the Seattle Times. There are still anarchists roaming our streets. They pop up anytime you want to try and do an event that says stop transing the kids, or we want to worship here, or we want to rally for Donald Trump, or we want to collect signatures for initiatives. Anytime we want to do any of that kind of stuff, the anarchists show up. I know it's been 5 years since the autonomous zone, but you literally had these same knuckleheads trying to set one up on the Microsoft campus yesterday. Okay, it's not in Seattle. It's in Redmond. It's on the east side. But given the fact that only one of them was actually a Microsoft employee, who do you figure the other ones are? 3 former Microsoft employees who just seem to be professional activists, and the other 40 or so of them, I recognized a bunch of them. I haven't confirmed their IDs yet. I will do that tonight. But yes, we do have lunatic activists running around our streets. And you trying to deny it, you know what you remind me of? There was this reporter, I don't even remember the guy's name, when all the violence was going on during the autonomous zone, when kids were being shot, when you had 6 people shot, 2 people died, all of them black teenagers in the autonomous zone. I remember there was this reporter who would go out to Seward Park, which for those of you who don't live here, miles away from each other, nowhere near each other. One's in South Seattle, one's in the middle of Seattle. And he would take pictures and go, it seems perfectly peaceful. Look how horrible our city is. Trying to make people like me look like an idiot. But meanwhile, that was happening in 6 blocks of the city. The problem with Seattle is you never know what's going to be the next hotspot. Whether it's going to be a drug encampment, whether it's going to be an Antifa protest, what are they going to get mad about today? We do live in anarchist jurisdiction. We do live in a sanctuary jurisdiction. Drive down Rainier Avenue. Drive down Rainier Avenue. When you have the taxpayer-funded drug addicts who are there at every single bus stop leading to I-90, it is quite a sight to behold, David Horsey. Maybe if the Seattle Times covered stuff the right way. Maybe if Seattle Times didn't say, look at all these Microsoft employees. Did you guys verify that, or you just took Azur's word for it? Did you just take the Hmasniks' word for it? Or did you actually verify this stuff? You know, I have no training in journalism whatsoever. No formal training. Everything I learned about journalism, I have learned from doing the job. And I know you have to verify your facts. You guys are believing what a terrorist sympathizing organization says. Oh, it's the Seattle Times. I forgot. Let's just remember they print fake news, and then when they find out it's fake news, they double down on the fake news, not once but twice. Of course, we shouldn't be surprised by this at all. But the Seattle Times is saying, oh, Microsoft employees. 1. It's Microsoft employee and 30 activists. You want to say former Microsoft employees? 3. And a whole bunch of activists. Our media here sucks. Absolutely sucks. And the reason we're an anarchist jurisdiction is because so many times these lunatics in the media are representing and standing up for the lunatics on the streets in the anarchist jurisdiction. Ugh. The Seattle Times is absolute garbage. Absolute garbage. Our friend Lars Larson is 100% right. It's the Daily Fish Wrapper. It's the Daily Fish Wrapper. Here's something else. This guy, Hoffman, you know that he's from Egypt. He's not even from Palestine, wherever that place is. He's from Egypt. What's he still doing here? One of the other activists was another former Microsoft employee who is here on a work visa. What's he still doing here? He got fired in October of 2024. Okay, Trump didn't come into office until January 20th of 2025. February, March, April, May, June, July, August. 7 months. Did he get a new job in the meantime? What is he still doing here? Why are we importing people to this country who hate this country, who are representing terrorist organizations? And now what they're doing, trying to block our light rail again. You know why nobody wants to take the light rail? Because you never know if a bunch of activists are going to decide to shut down a station, or there's going to be a homeless guy peeing next to you, or shooting up next to you, or God knows what you might see on that light rail. When I was driving home yesterday, I was driving along Rainier Avenue, and I saw these sad shells of human beings at every single bus stop. I said, who wants to take the bus? When you see that, do you want to take the bus? So when the Seattle Times says, we have Project Homeless, we have Project Homeless, and we're going to tell you about Project Homeless, and we're going to tell you how amazing Project Homeless is because we're covering the homeless. You can't even call it the right name. Taxpayer-funded drug addicts. They're not homeless. Taxpayer-funded drug addicts is what is destroying our city. Activists, anarchist activists are what is destroying our city. By the way, I look out those Microsoft protesters. You guys look pretty white for Palestinians. I'm just looking out there a little bit. You guys look pretty white. The people I see marching in D.C. who are saying, no, we want crime on our streets. That's essentially what you're saying by saying you want the National Guard gone. You're essentially saying, yay, crime, yay, crime, yay, crime. It's a bunch of old white hippies. That's what I'm seeing. In fact, Mike, the most recent protests we've had around here, I only see old white hippies. I've gone down to the Federal Building on Fridays when they have their little protest. It's a bunch of aging hippies. Can you guys go play shuffleboard? Can you guys go on a cruise? Maybe go to a casino? Maybe go bowling? Mahjong? Okay, Mahjong's not that exciting. But there's plenty of things for you to do. This is how you decide to spend the little time you have left on this earth? Just standing in front of a building protesting while people drive by and ignore you or flip you the bird? Oh, it's Seattle. They don't flip you the bird. They just mutter after their backs are turned to you. That's what we do here. That's the real Seattle freeze, right? This is insane. This is insane. And the fact that it is allowed to continue because of people like Bruce Harrell, because of people like Bob Ferguson, and they're saying, oh, no, we're not going to deport these lunatics who are literally sticking up for a terrorist organization. You know, we thought it was going to be a long summer after activists. I wonder if it's because all the college kids went home, they don't have their usual numbers. Because UW isn't in session, they don't have their usual numbers. Oh, by the way, one of these activists who was arrested at Microsoft yesterday has the same name as one of the people who was arrested at the University of Washington for causing over $1 million worth of damage to the engineering building. And you know what? It's been 3 months and we still don't have charges. We still don't have charges against the people that caused over $1 million to the University of Washington. How many other crossovers are there going to be? How much more violence? How much more damage can they inflict? Because they should be in jail, and instead we refuse to prosecute anybody around here. We refuse to press charges. We refuse to even give the charging documents over to the prosecutors around here. It's insane. Absolutely insane. The 30 people who were arrested back in May, still haven't been charged. Still haven't been charged for over $1 million worth of damage done to the University of Washington. At some point, you just got to ask yourself, University of Washington not want these people charged? Not want to deal with it at all? So frustrating. Yes, David Horsey, we do live in an anarchist jurisdiction. Lots more to discuss as the show continues. When we come back, my friends, is Washington the most dangerous state in the U.S.? A new report says it is. We'll tell you why when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KBI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, coming up at 5:45, your chance to win fantabulous prizes, including a $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card, plus so much more. Yeah, another reason, always keep your radio tuned to 570 KVI. Left on your dial, always right on the issues. You can also stream us at KVI.com, download the KVI app, and, of course, subscribe to us on whatever your preferred podcast platform is. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line. Take a call from Pat in Covington. Pat, what's going on?
Well, Ari, the Seattle Times and David Horsey, I wonder what rock he lives under. And one of the sins I'm going to ask forgiveness for tonight is I delivered that dang rag back in the early 70s.
You know, I'll tell you something, Pat. You're not the only one who has said that to me. So many people have said to me before, I feel bad I ever delivered that thing. I should have just thrown them in the garbage. And then I said, you might as well take their money if they were offering it.
Well, I suppose.
Yeah.
Anyway, how is it that the Antifa folks are allowed the latitude to use their First Amendment rights to shut down the First Amendment rights of the conservative side? For instance, anytime a conservative steps foot on the UW to give a speech or a presentation, guess what? You know, and they're also the conservative side is the one that has to pay for the security.
Yeah,
I don't get it. But the left or the Antifa type, they can exercise their First Amendment to burn things, torch buildings. I don't get it.
Yeah, it's insane. It's absolutely insane because basically UW is afraid of them. UW is afraid of their own students. UW is afraid of their own faculty. UW is afraid of them and doesn't know what to do about them, and Bruce Harrell's no different. Why is Bruce Harrell running to the left? Why is Sarah Nelson running to the left? Why is Ann Davidson running to the left? Because they're all worried about losing their jobs because of the left. Does this mean we should riot? What happened the last time people on the right rioted? It has become a national day of mourning for the left because of January 6th. One day, right? And yet you had months of these guys rioting, years of these guys rioting. And that's it. All rioting is wrong. All violence is wrong. But at the same time, they're afraid of the left. They're not afraid of the right.
Oh, we need to have a more peaceful protest about this. Okay, got it.
Pat, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Oh, crazy stuff. Meanwhile, I'm going to say this with a mountain of salt because I want to be consistent. Whenever we see one of these national surveys, national studies, even when they say what we want them to say, we know they don't know the facts on the ground. So when I see a survey from Wallet Hub, I understand the trends they're analyzing. I get it. But at the same time, take this with a mountain of salt. According to Wallet Hub, Washington State has been ranked 50th in the nation for safety. 50th. Do you know what's causing that? We have the least amount of cops per capita. And we have some ridiculously high crime rates that have not gone down the way they have gone down in the rest of the U.S. We are 50th in the nation for safety, the lowest score of any state, according to Wallet Hub's 2025 Best States to Live In report. Wallet Hub's analysis placed Washington 36 overall among 50 states, weighing affordability, economy, education, health, quality of life, and safety. Strong showings in economy, by the way, I did look into the things we had strong showings in. This survey was done when we haven't felt the full effects of Bob Ferguson's taxes yet. As soon as some of them kick in after he signed the largest tax increase in state history, it's going to get a lot worse. They say there's strong showings in education. That's the flaw I'm talking about right there. We don't have a strong showing in education. What we have is we're in the middle of the pack regarding education in public schools, which are all failing. So right there, you have a problem with this study. Health, 14. Quality of life, 8th. Let me ask you a question, Wallet Hub. If you're 50th for safety, how can you be 8th for quality of life? That's why these things don't really work out. Last week, the FBI released national crime data for 2024 showing declines in most major violent crime categories across the U.S. Between 2019 and 2024, the national murder rate dropped 3.55%, but in Washington, it increased 42.46%. Nationally, violent crime fell 6.28% over the same span, yet Washington's violent crime rate climbed 8.16%. Aggravated assaults rose 2.4% nationwide, but in Washington they surged 18.84%, nearly 9 times higher. Vehicle thefts, same story. U.S. thefts rose 15.99%, while Washington's jumped 34.87%, more than double the national pace. While robbery and rape edge downward, property crime is also declining more slowly in Washington than elsewhere. Washington is now ranked last in police staffing per capita for 15 consecutive years, according to the Washington Association of Police Chiefs and Sheriffs. The long-term shortage, combined with restrictive policing laws passed in recent years, is cited as a key factor behind the state's crime trends. Despite the safety crisis, Washington's broader Wallet Hub rankings reflect areas of strength. The state's economy, driven by technology, aerospace, and trade, ranked 10th in the nation. However, it didn't factor in the taxes yet. It also hasn't factored in how many of these businesses have left our area and how many more are getting ready to leave this area. What did we have? 3 or 4 major companies last week announced how many people they fired around here. That's before this survey. Or excuse me, that was after the survey. So what happens is you have the survey first, and then you're finding out that kind of stuff. Is anybody surprised by any of this? When you have Chief Wiggum in charge of Seattle, are you surprised? The Seattle Police Department put up a post. When neighbors come together, change begins. The Seattle Police Department is grateful for every voice, every insight, every shared vision during a recent safety forum at Garfield Community Center with Police Chief Sean Barnes, Seattle Fire, and our partners. You know who they had from Seattle Fire? They had Harold Scoggins, Chief Harold Scoggins. So the guy who was coordinating with the warlord of the autonomous zone and all the people who seized control of 6 blocks of Seattle. Ah, yes. We put him up here. He's going to bring safety to the masses. Yes, this fire chief who is despised by his own firefighters. He, the guy who deleted his own text messages because he didn't want to get busted for coordinating with the warlord of the autonomous zone. Yeah, that guy's going to make us all safe, right? Oh, insane. Insane. You ever feel like we're on a reality show like The Truman Show and the rest of the country's watching us and just going, what's going to happen next? I kind of feel like that's actually happening. That's how I kind of feel. When we come back, my friends, these Fred Meyer's closures and the Kroger closures, is it all that they're saying it is, or is there a little bit more to it? Mayor Kent's going to be joining us to weigh in. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. The news about all these Fred Meyer and QFC locations that are closing in Western Washington that was announced by Kroger took a lot of people by surprise. Some locations, you said, yep, that makes sense. That place is zombie land. And we were actually discussing that out in our bullpen today. But some of the locations, maybe something else is going on. Joining us now to discuss on the Warrior Injury Law studio line is Mayor Dana Ralph of Kent. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure. Now, you're one of the mayors around here I get along with, and that's rare. So when I saw this happening, I said, wait a minute. Kent isn't Seattle. Kent isn't some of these other places where we know what the neighborhoods look like. So you've been doing the interview circuit. You've been doing a lot of discussing about what you think is going on. Tell us about the Kroger location near you and how this took you by surprise.
So I will tell you, we did not know that this location was closing until Monday morning, so it was absolutely a surprise. But I think there's a whole variety of things that I want to be really clear. There is crime in that area. There's no doubt. And I know that I've been seeing a lot of comments and people saying, why did you say there's no crime? I have not said that. What I have said is it's gotten better over the last couple of years. We've been implementing things like our drug ordinances and those kinds of things. It's getting better. I think that that's a factor, and it certainly opened the door. And as Kroger has been making decisions about how to increase their profitability, and people are changing their shopping habits and more online and all of those things, I think it all plays into the closure of that location.
There's a QFC near my house, which is not on the list, but I guarantee you it'll be closed in a few years because they opened a homeless hygiene station right next door to it. And the other day, my wife went there for something, drove into the parking lot and said, nope, and just started going somewhere else. Do you think there might be a residual effect of things weren't always great at this location, even though they've gotten better? A lot of people just haven't gone back, and they looked at the numbers and said, well, if people haven't come back to this location, maybe it's just time to shut this thing down.
I think that's very real. I think that if you go back a few years at the height of crime in not just Kent, King County, Washington, we changed a lot of policies and a lot of laws that increased crime and decreased accountability. I absolutely think that is a part of it. And I have heard from residents that have said, I stopped going there because, and I haven't been back.
Right. And as you said,
it's real.
Right. I think you're right. This is many, many layers. For example, we know there was supposed to be the merger between Kroger and Albertsons. That didn't end up happening. And now they're actually being hit by the Attorney General's office for a whole bunch of money. And if I was Kroger, I would just say, well, screw it. You don't want me here. You're charging me all this money. These places are hard to maintain anyway. They haven't always been in the best locations. We're going to add that to the list also. I mean, it seems like, just like you said, very, very layered.
It's a perfect storm, to use a cliche. I think you have the merger, you have crime issues, you have, again, people's shopping patterns have changed. It used to be you could go and you'd buy something in the electronics department and something in the clothing department and groceries, and now we all turn to the app on our phone to do a lot of those things. I think that we've just increased taxes on businesses exponentially in the state of Washington. I think all of those things are a factor in this closure.
And just to back up what you're saying, we're talking with Kent Mayor Dana Ralph, is that they said crime and onerous regulations. These are the two things they cited. And I used to own two businesses here in Washington, and they got destroyed by the COVID pandemic. I can only imagine what it would be like trying to run them right now. I got destroyed by all the closures that were happening, the forced closures, and the fact that people couldn't do events anymore, and I ran an event rental business, and there was no help for us. So I look around at what's going on right now, and I think you're 100% right. It's very, very layered, very, very nuanced, but still there is this crime issue in King County. How badly is it affecting Kent? And just so you know, Mayor, is that people will call the show and say, oh, it's so much worse than she's saying. So how bad is it in Kent right now?
Yeah. Days are not great. Again, and this is the hard part. Our data shows decrease in crime in all areas, but crime is very personal. So when it happens to you, it is absolutely the biggest thing, and it's not going down. And I acknowledge that 100%. We have been, the things I want to say to people is that Kent has not been standing idly by. I have been to the legislature the last, I don't know how many sessions, saying we need help and support to hire more police officers. Kent was the first city after the legislature failed to act on drug laws to enact a local drug ordinance. Our city council has passed a trespass ordinance for drug-related crime. I mean, I can go on and on with the things that we have done here in Kent. Has it solved the problem? Absolutely not.
So I've had you on the show multiple times, and every time I have you on, it's when you do one of those laws that fixes the stuff that everybody else in King County isn't smart enough to see. But there's one thing I kind of want to know if you think this might be part of the problem, the King County Regional Homeless Authority. I call it the Seattle Homeless Export Program because all it's doing is shipping Seattle's problems all over King County. Do you think that may be a major contributing factor?
I think we are not, as a region, as a county, addressing the homeless problem in the way that we should. I will tell you, in Kent, we're going out, we're offering services, and if people are not accepting services, then we are saying you can't stay here. Very, very much a compassion and accountability approach. But yes, I think when we're creating an environment where it is easier for people to continue to live in a way that is not at all compassionate, it exacerbates the problem. And that's what we are doing across the state.
Switching gears back to Fred Meyer in the last few minutes we have with Kent Mayor Dana Ralph. So there were stores on the East Coast. You grew up out here. I grew up on the East Coast. There's stores like Caldor. I'm sure you guys had Kmart out here. We had stores like Kohl's. I don't see most of those stores around anymore. In fact, they were closing when I was moving out here 20 years ago, most of those stores. Do you think also maybe there just might be a market change where people are moving away from this kind of shopping? I'm shocked Best Buy is still in business.
I think without a doubt, our Kmart in downtown Kent closed probably almost a decade ago now. I do think people are shopping differently. Like I said, when my kids were growing up, we'd go to the store and we'd buy some Legos and then we'd buy some groceries and then pick up some clothes. Everybody goes online at things like prescriptions. You know, we're seeing the Rite Aids and the Walgreens. Amazon delivers prescriptions to your front door overnight. I do think people are shopping very differently, and these large format sort of one-stop shop locations are falling victim to that.
Kent Mayor Dana Ralph, I really appreciate you giving us a nuanced view of what's going on, and I appreciate you saying it's not one thing, it's not this specific thing, it's many things, and many things can be true at the exact same time. This is why we love having you on the show. Thank you so much for joining us today. Really do appreciate it.
I'm grateful for the opportunity to talk about the nuance. It doesn't happen very often.
Well, especially with those news guys, because they're always like, here, we're going to give you a 10-second soundbite, but here, I give you 8 whole minutes. Thank you so much, Mayor, for joining us. Really do appreciate it. You take care now. We got a whole lot more to discuss. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. As summer is winding down, so is baseball season. And I've always joked that if crime and stuff got better, we could always do a sports show. I mean, Mike would have to handle all the football stuff, right? Because I don't know anything about the foosball. But I could handle the baseball stuff. So when I get to talk about baseball, especially as it overlaps with politics and pop culture, oh, that's just amazing for me. Now, I know everybody listening here hates the Yankees. I know that everybody here, whether you're a Mets fan like me, whether you're a Mariners fan, I know that everybody hates the Yankees. And Mike knows this. When I'm sitting at my desk and I'm mad about anything, what do I always call everybody? Nazi bastards. That's just what I do. And the Yankees often get a lot of my wrath about that. Well, I didn't know they were actually Nazi bastards. I didn't, because the Yankees drafted this guy named Core Jackson out of Utah in the 5th round last month, knowing that the shortstop, and this according to ESPN, drew a swastika on the door of a Jewish student's dorm room in 2021. Jackson was a 17-year-old freshman at the University of Nebraska at the time of the incident. He told The Athletic in a story published Wednesday morning that he was blackout drunk and had no recollection of the incident or why he... Well, that's way better. I mean, who hasn't done that, right? I mean, Mike, when we were younger, have a few drinks, have one too many, and then the next thing you know, you're drawing swastikas on door frames, right? They say that when a person is very drunk or a person is very angry, you see what is actually in their heart. You can see that. Well, I will tell you what is actually in this person's heart. The Yankees, according to the Athletic, said that they didn't make the decision to draft Jackson lightly. According to the Athletic, Jackson was picked after the most thorough deep dive into a player in Yankees amateur scouting director Damon Oppenheimer's career. It also came after a conversation with Jewish members of the Yankees organization, like team president Randy Levine, with direct clearance from owner Hal Steinbrenner. I think it's an important part of his story, Jackson said. I have this new platform that God has given me, and I can share his story about forgiveness. Okay. Interesting move by the Yankees. So you're in the largest Jewish city in the United States, and you drafted a guy who drew a swastika on the door. Yeah, so, by the way, this is not a great marketing move, by the way. They're trying to do the mea culpa and get past it. The Yankees drafted Jackson with the 164th overall selection in the draft this year. He signed for a bonus of $147,500, according to The Athletic, which is well under the pick slot value, which is $411,000. Now, Jackson is ranked as the number 18 prospect in the Yankees farm system by MLB Pipeline. Jackson's accountability is a big reason why the Yankees were open to drafting him. Well, of course, if you're going to pay me that much, I'll say whatever you want. No problem. I'm just kidding. There are people in my industry who actually do things like that, not me. After considering dropping Jackson, Kurowski stuck around another 2 conditions. The infielder would call a representative from every MLB team to admit what he did, couldn't pull any punches either, no matter how hard those conversations were, and to work with Steinmetz to truly understand the meaning behind what he did. You guys took him to a Holocaust museum, didn't you? Stop giving them ideas. Don't do that. You took Marjorie Taylor Greene to a Holocaust museum. She's worse than ever. You hear the stuff she was spewing on Megyn Kelly's show? The Athletic story went on to report that Jackson, who grew up in a Christian household in Wyoming, had very little knowledge of Judaism. All you knew was the swastika? All right, let's play a little game, shall we? A little game. Let's say you've never seen a Jewish person before in your life. Let's say you don't listen to the Ari Hoffman show. Let's say all you know is a few stereotypes about Jews or whatever. Is that going to make you go paint a swastika on somebody's door? That takes some effort. That takes a lot of effort, by the way. Says he didn't know the full history of what a swastika represents. Have you seen Indiana Jones? Have you seen? You know what? That is what I would do. I would call BS right there. I'd say, have you seen Indiana Jones? All right, let's do one better. Indiana Jones is from the 80s, okay? Let's not even do the new Indiana Jones. Let's say, have you seen Captain America? Have you seen Marvel movies at all? Have you any of that? A little smidgen. You don't know what the swastika is. Give me a break. Since being drafted, Jackson was quickly promoted to high A Hudson Valley, where he has played in 10 games so far. Oh, he's playing for the Hudson Valley Renegades. I used to like those guys. They're fun to watch. It's a minor league team, so it's like watching Little League, but it's still fun to watch. Oi, 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 oi. That's all I can say to this story. This is very, very disappointing. Tell me, what do you think? Should we forgive this guy? I say, you know why I'm not going to forgive this guy? He wanted to be drafted by the Yankees. So even if you did everything right, and even if you converted to Judaism, you went with the Yankees? No, sir. No, sir. No, 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 no. Go to any other team.
How about no?
You go to the Yankees? Nope, nope. Just not going to have that. When we come back, my friends, lots more to discuss as the show continues, including what's going on, the latest with the protesters, and who Bob Ferguson has decided to align himself with now. We'll give you all the details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KBI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show's final hour free for all your calls, your texts, your thoughts, your stories, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up at 5:45, your chance to win fantabulous prizes, including a $50 Daniels Broiler gift card, plus so much more. But before we get to any of that, we go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line. Take a call from Doug in Maple Valley, who disagrees with me. Doug, what's up, man?
I get kind of sick of it. Every time somebody uses the N-word or a swastika or something, how overly sensitive people get. I mean, come on. I mean, if a kid's 17 years old, give him some time to live his life, see what kind of a human being he becomes, and then kind of judge him. But I mean, it's just people wanting it to be a sensitive subject that are making a big deal about it, because many times as I've seen the swastika on overpasses throughout the years, I mean, most these idiots don't realize what it was back then, because they don't get taught anything in school anymore. So just I don't get the oversensitivity of it, the whole thing myself.
Well, Doug, I'm not so mad about the swastika as I am about the guy being a Yankee. I'm more upset he chose to be a Yankee, which is the devil incarnate. In fact, if you ask me which one I'm more mad about, I'd probably choose the Yankee one, and you know me, right?
Yeah, I do, but the thing is every time something like this comes up, I mean, it's just endless, whether it's, like I say, whether it's the N-word or this and that. I mean, it's things that get used from time to time when people are drinking, and that's just a fact of life, and it's always going to be a fact of life. So, I mean,
let me ask you this, Doug. Doug, have you ever had too much to drink before?
Oh, I'd have to probably get a calculator.
Okay. Well, let's assume you're not Mormon. You're not Mormon. You're not Muslim, right?
No.
Okay. All right. So during the times you were that drunk, did you ever draw a swastika on somebody's door, especially somebody who was a Jewish student?
Nah, I never did, but there's been
other incidents. I don't want you to incriminate yourself on air. You don't have to tell us what those other incidents were.
I don't care, because I'll tell anybody anything I have done, because in the end I'm not ashamed of it. It just happened, and that's just life.
And statute of limitations has way run out, right? Doug, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Let me know what you guys think, by the way. For me, I think I'm more mad about the Yankees thing. Now, mind you, of course, any person who's a baseball person, even if you're a Mets fan your entire life, or a Red Sox fan your entire life, or a Mariners fan your entire life, the Yankees draft you go, I want to get me some of that Yankees money. I want to play for the Yankees. I want to be out of Memorial Field. I'll learn to like the Yankees. But at the same time, the Yankees are evil, absolutely evil. There's a Jewish joke I tell all the time. There's an idea of our sages that people who are bad in this world get all their reward in this world, and people who are good get all their reward in the world to come. And that's how you know God is a Mariners fan, because you're not getting any reward right here in this. I'm sorry. Matt G is going to get mad at me about that one. I'm sorry. I'm just kidding around. Got an update for you, by the way, about what happened. Microsoft has now released a statement about what has happened yesterday. They've also released video about what happened yesterday. Now, I'm looking at the video right now. We don't run a TV show. We run a radio show. But what's fascinating is they released their internal security cameras of the Hmasniks takeover of their campus yesterday. And what you see is it's that main quad area out in front of the Microsoft campus where they bring in food trucks and they bring in other stuff. I see the Microsoft logo right there. And then I see all of a sudden there's a farmer's market. No, the farmer's market is there. People are going to the farmer's market. People are enjoying themselves. And then these Antifa lunatics come in on their bicycles. Always with the bicycles. And then they start setting up these tents. And then when the police show up, the protesters start assaulting them. They grab a fence, a barricade from the property, and start assaulting the police officers with it. Then they go to the DJ. So Microsoft brings in a DJ for the farmers market, and they go to the DJ, and they start yelling at the DJ and disconnecting the DJ's equipment. What'd this guy ever do to you? He's just there to play some tunes so everybody can enjoy the farmers market. These guys don't care. They are there to push their message. And they're mad that the DJ equipment is going to interfere with their bullhorns. Then what happens is they shut down the farmers market. Hang on. I'm looking at the video right now. They have covered the Microsoft sign in red paint. They have set up a perimeter of tents around the farmers market area. They have thrown all these things that are claws. I guess they're supposed to be dead babies or something. And they say it's their liberated zone. I thought you guys wanted a worker intifada. Let me ask you a question. Do you think the workers are more likely to support you or not when you just ruin their sales for the day? When you block them in traffic? When you make their commute longer? Do you think you won friends and influenced people through all this nonsense? Or do you think you alienated people? I'm going to guess you probably alienated a whole bunch of people where these tech bros are going, normally they do this stuff at night. I don't have to deal with them. Now I have to watch this stuff during the day. And then you have the Democrats supporting people like this, backing people like this. It should be no surprise that the Democrats have lost 2.1 million voters as registration for Democrats plummets across the United States. According to the New York Times, wait. The New York Times. Hang on. Go to my little black book of the right-wing media conspiracy. And let's see what I got here. I got Newsmax. I got Daily Wire. I got Fox News. I do not have the New York Times. I have the New York Post. I do not have the New York Times. The Democratic Party is facing steep losses in registered voters across the U.S., with 30 states that track registration by political party revealing that the party lost ground to the GOP in every single one of those states between 2020 and 2024. A report from the New York Times citing data compiled by the nonpartisan data firm L2 revealed that the Democratic Party lost around 2.1 million voters between 2020 and 2024 across 30 states and the District of Columbia, while Republicans gained 2.4 million. Would you like to know who one of them was, by the way? Mike, you're going to love this. Sydney Sweeney. We got her voting records from Washington. Yeah, that's right, Mike. We got her voting records from Washington. And what does it show? It shows she even voted Democrat in the primaries. In the most recent election. But then she has the classic Republican story. She moved to Florida and ended up voting Republican like 2.1 million other people, it seems like, did the exact same thing. By the way, this is a disaster for Democrats. Now, it doesn't mean that these are going to hold over time. This could be very, very short-lived. We've seen that happen before. But at the same time, this is really bad news. Really bad news for Democrats. 2024 marked the first time since 2018 that Republicans outpaced Democrats in terms of new voter registration nationwide. While there are still more Democrats registered in America, the party went from having a majority of those voters to now it's underwater. Now they're having problems. This is truly fascinating. I mean, truly, truly fascinating that this is something we're looking at here. Now, you have this guy, Michael Purser of the Decision Desk HQ, told the New York Times, I don't want to say the death cycle of the Democrat Party, but there seems to be no end of this. There's no silver lining or cavalry coming across the hill. This is month after month, year after year. Significant Democratic losses were seen in the battleground states of Arizona, Nevada, Pennsylvania, and North Carolina. In the latter state, Republicans erased roughly 95% of the vote of the registration advantage that Democrats held in the fall of 2020. Okay, that's huge, by the way. You know why that's even bigger than you realize? If it's the fall of 2020, that's when allegedly shenanigans were going on, shall we say. So if Republicans erased 95% of that registration, that means you've caught up to whatever shenanigans we all might believe actually happened in 2020. Nevada saw the steepest drop in any state other than West Virginia. Maria Cardona, member of the Democratic National Committee, told the outlet, "We fell asleep at the switch." Oh, you think? All you guys did was say Trump bad, Trump bad, Trump bad, and you forgot to do the rest of it. You thought that would be enough. Charge him. Yeah, that didn't work. Also, you know what you did? You embraced the activist class. You embraced the people like the ones at Microsoft. Oh, you mean supporting Hamas is a bad move? Oh, supporting BLM is a bad move? Supporting Antifa is a bad move? Uh-huh. Tom Bonier, he's a leading expert on voter registration polls and voter registration trends in the Democratic Party, had spent 2024 disregarding the seriousness of the situation the party was in regarding the registration. I was wrong, he said. Clearly, in retrospect, we can say that the Democratic Party had dug itself in too deep a hole in the preceding 4 years for the Harris campaign to dig itself out in the last few months. He said, adding that registration statistics are a big flashing red alert. Now, here's something else they did. This is really fascinating to me. You know that Barack Obama, for his second campaign, when he was running for re-election against Mitt Romney, he was really, really desperate, and he was really, really unpopular. So what he decided to do was get together all these disaffected types, get together anybody of color or special minority group or whatever the case, and tell them, Republicans bad, they're to blame for your lot in life. And this intersectional nonsense took off like a rocket, and that's what the Democrats have been doing since 2012. This is what they've been doing since long before that, but this is the road they've been on until Donald Trump came along and put a stop to that. But it backfired on the Democrats. Why? If you're saying you're relying on traditional nonprofits to go into these minority communities and recruit people, the problem is the African-American community rejected Kamala Harris. African-American men said no. Hispanics, men, women, didn't matter. They're moving towards the Republican Party. All the stuff that the Democrats did at the border alienated them. See what I did there? It alienated them. Why? Because they said we came to this country legally. Anytime I suggest some pathway to citizenship for illegal aliens who have kept their nose clean in this country, my phone lines blow up of people who came here legally that say, no way in hell, it's not fair. I did everything right. They didn't. Why should they get special treatment? And I can't argue that point. I cannot argue that point. So, Florida has seen Republican registrations outpace Democratic ones, with Miami-Dade County flipping red in the months following Trump being the first Republican to win the county in decades. In 2020, Democrats outnumbered Republicans by 200,000. The number of Democratic voters in North Carolina is ahead of Republicans by less than 17,000, down from 400,000 4 years ago. By the way, getting back to Florida for a second, when you guys have these really, really crazy, absolutely insane COVID restrictions, and a whole bunch of people flee the blue states, that's what's going to happen. Pennsylvania Democrats have gone from having a 517,000 person average, that many, 517,000, to now they're almost neck and neck, which is beyond crazy. So you look at this kind of stuff and you look what's happening around the country and you say, oh, this is huge news for Republicans. This can be great for Republicans. Is it though? We've got our own problems. Now, some of the problems we're having right now are what's going on in our own party. So, for example, you've got Tom Massey. Tom Massey has proposed a brand new bill. Where is this thing? Let me pull this thing up here for you guys. I want to make sure I get this whole thing right here. I want to make sure I get it accurate, to the letter, to the T. Yes, here it is. Tom Massey is co-sponsoring a bill, H.R. 2356, the Dual Loyalty Disclosure Act. Candidates for federal office should be required to disclose to voters whether they have citizenship in other countries. Now, you may say to yourself, that's a good idea. We should definitely know that kind of stuff. But that's not why he's doing it. He's doing it to accuse Jewish people of having dual loyalty to Israel. He has said as much beforehand. The sinister premise of this act is the belief that those with two citizenships are likely and motivated to betray America on behalf of another country. Sounds a lot like internment to me, doesn't it? Sounds a lot like that. You sound a lot like FDR. Sound a lot like a Democrat. You do know that evil people can be traitors even without a second passport, right? They do it all the time. Having a second passport doesn't imply traitorous intent, and Massey knows that. What this act is to virtue signal to Candace listeners and Tucker Carlson listeners who think all Jews are dual citizens with Israel and working on its behalf to betray America. Guys, I got one passport. That's an American passport. It's the only one I got. But yet that is why he's doing this kind of stuff. Guarantee it. Now, you may want to know where somebody comes from, and I get that, but how about somebody like Marco Rubio? Marco Rubio was brought here from Cuba. Odds are he has a Cuban passport. Are you going to question his loyalty to America? It is clear why Thomas Massie is doing this. I thought Thomas Massie was just a hardcore libertarian type. That is not what he is. He is something else entirely. Now, luckily, the Republican Party only really has him in Congress. On the other side of the aisle, who do we got? We got people like Ilhan Omar. Ilhan Omar, who literally has said she's doing all this stuff for Somalia. She wants to help Somalia. I don't hear him going after her. I just hear him going after people with the funny things that we wear on top of our heads. That's what I hear. That's what I hear him doing. Crazy stuff. Crazy, crazy stuff. Tell you what, you agree with him, you disagree with him, you give me a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Now, when I posted this online, somebody said, well, what about that guy who's running for Minneapolis mayor? Maybe there's guys like this guy. Well, the truth is people shouldn't vote for this dude because he's a radical leftist, not because he may have a second passport. There are a few candidates who have openly stated they are running on behalf of another country, like Ilhan Omar. They don't hide the ball when it's true. They flat out say it. They flat out say it. I'm pretty sure this guy said something similar just like that. So I'm telling you guys, it's like this kind of thing. I see what Tom Massie is doing. I always thought he just didn't want to spend. It's not that. It's a little bit worse than that. That's something that truly, truly bothers me. When we come back, my friends, lots more to discuss as the show continues. Gavin Newsom is trying to make himself a thing, but Californians ain't having that at all. We're going to tell you some of their hilarious reactions when we come back, but first, Todd Herman's Daily Thoughtcast, right now on The Ari Hoffman Show. how the hell did I end up on Gavin Newsom's text list? Yeah, I'm not subscribed to your Democrat insanity fundraising stuff. Who sold my information to Gavin Newsom? Or who mined my information for Gavin Newsom? All right, should we do this in Gavin's voice? I haven't done a good Gavin Newsom impression in a while. So let's have Gavin read out his text to me, shall we?
The show's almost over, so yeah, if you want to ruin your voice, go right ahead. Go right ahead.
This is really long, so we might only do a little bit of this, okay? Hey, Gavin Newsom here. Yes. By the way, it says yes in parentheses. I didn't do that. It actually says that in the text. Gavin Newsom here. Yes. If you donated before, you haven't given yet, I need you today. I need you like I needed my best friend's wife instead of my wife and cheated. Well, wait, hang on. That's not in here. Wait, no, sorry, that's not here. Please, let me explain why. Last night, the Texas House of Representatives passed the maps Donald Trump asked for. So later today, the California legislature will call a special election on November 4th to pass the Election Rigging Response Act. Okay. One thing is the majority of Californians are not in favor of this stupidity. But the fact that Gavin Newsom is asking me for money, hang on, I have a question. What does Gavin Newsom raising money for the Gavin 2022 campaign? Yes, I read your whole stupid text. If it's for the Gavin 2022 campaign, how is that going to help what's going on with the redistricting in Texas or California for that matter? No, he's trying to... wait, I see. Go to actblue.com/donate, blah, blah, blah. Oh, you're fundraising for other things. You're just trying to make this the excuse. I see what's going on. I understand now what's going on. Gavin Newsom, snake oil salesman, or just a snake. He is a lizard person, is he not? Gavin Newsom, definitely a lizard person. What happens is there's some news that came out yesterday. And I don't know which part of this news I'm more surprised by. Bed Bath & Beyond will not open stores in California due to overregulation and high taxes. I didn't know Bed Bath & Beyond was still a thing. I remember going to one of their stores for their going out of business sale and grabbing a whole bunch of stuff with my wife. I'm not the kind of person who usually shops at a Bed Bath & Beyond, but my wife had her eye on a whole bunch of things, and we got them for normal price, I will say, because Bed Bath & Beyond was getting kind of pricey there at the end. So we didn't get them on sales price. We just kind of got them for normal price. But either way, Bed Bath & Beyond apparently emerged from bankruptcy and is now looking at opening smaller stores in the U.S., and apparently they're doing pretty well online. So Beyond Inc., the parent company of Bed Bath & Beyond, announced it will not be opening retail locations in California and will instead serve customers in the state exclusively through e-commerce. In a press release, Marcus Lemonis, he's the executive chairman of Bed Bath & Beyond, explained that California's regulatory environment poses too many barriers for a business to be profitable in the state. The company pointed to the state's high taxes, fees, and business regulations as the key reasons why. In fact, he was on Sean Hannity's show last night. Here's what he said.
Well, I think the thing that was really surprising to me is that I tried to articulate in a non-aggressive way exactly why our company wasn't going to reinvest capital in California. And what I found out this afternoon is that Governor Newsom has enough time to respond to a tweet as opposed to a private DM or having somebody reach out to remind everybody in America that in 2023, before we bought the intellectual property, that the company went out of business. We all know that Bed Bath went out of business a few years ago. Now we're trying to make a comeback. And I would think that a governor would want to attract investment, attract capital into the state. In fact, he did the opposite. He rejected it. It's a very simple model for me. As a capitalist myself, I want to do business in all 50 states, and I want to do business with all people of all political parties. That's part of being a capitalist. But what I don't want to do is put my shareholders, my employees, and myself in a situation where we're regulated to a zero. And we don't want to spend $100 million coming into California and then find out that the state's going to take it all and waste it all.
Well, not just that, but if you do end up opening retail locations, small little retail shops. An example. You remember some malls? I think South Center may still have one. You know, they have these little Best Buy kiosks. They're looking at things of that nature. Okay, fine. I'm not sure retail's the way to go. E-commerce seems to be the way to go, and it seems to be working for Beyond Inc., who bought the intellectual property rights for Bed Bath & Beyond. But who's crazy enough to open a business in California these days? Anybody. Gavin Newsom couldn't handle this. Now, let's be real. Gavin Newsom has hired two people, two radical activists, to try and pretend to be Donald Trump. You notice they're writing in all caps. They're making the same memes. They're doing all this AI-generated nonsense. They're trying to out Donald Trump. But you know the difference with Donald Trump? When Donald Trump would get into a war with you, somebody from Trump's world would normally reach out. Or somebody from the other side would normally reach out. And that's how Trump went from being worst enemies with somebody to being best friends with somebody. Because these companies that he bashed, he's now making deals with. These people that he bashed, he's now friends with. That's part of his negotiating tactic. Gavin Newsom forgot that it's velvet glove and iron fist. He just does the iron fist. Hit, 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 hit. Whereas if Gavin Newsom was smart, you know what he would have done instead? Ignored what the dude said online. You don't have to be Trump. Ignore what the dude says online. Reach out to him and say, what can I do to make you invest in California? What can I do to make Bed Bath & Beyond invest in California? And then you know what you get to do? If you can work out a deal, you get to announce, I brought Bed Bath & Beyond back to California. Donald Trump didn't do that. But Gavin Newsom's not doing that. He thinks he can pull off the Donald Trump thing. He just can't do it. In fact, even the press secretary was making fun of him just the other day.
Bring it on, Gavin. This administration is well within its legal right to do this, and we want to ensure that our colleges and our universities are respecting the First Amendment rights and the religious liberties of students on their campuses, and UCLA has failed to do that. And I have a whole list of examples that I will forward to Gavin Newsom's press office if he hasn't seen them himself.
Yeah, that's when he got mad that UCLA might actually stop discriminating against people, stop being anti-Semites, might actually do a settlement to get rid of DEI and all that. What is Gavin Newsom's track record? Well, let's see. His most famous moment is cheating on his wife and then doing a mea culpa on that. His second most famous moment is eating in the French Laundry restaurant when he ordered all these other restaurants closed and shut down, and he's eating in there with the California health officials. So all the people who told everybody, you're not allowed to have your restaurants open, we're going to go out for a nice fancy dinner indoors during COVID. Remember all that? How many other scandals are there? This is the guy. He's criticizing Donald Trump for using the National Guard. Do you remember? I remember the guy surfing in California. And you saw like 3 law enforcement boats. I was expecting a destroyer to come over the horizon at any moment to come stop the surfer. Do you remember he sent law enforcement after people who were doing yoga on the beach? Do you remember Gavin Newsom having the skateboard parks during COVID filled in with sand so people wouldn't congregate? Have you seen how many drug addicts, how many taxpayer-funded drug addicts are on the streets of Los Angeles these days? Los Angeles County. Have you seen how many businesses have fled Los Angeles and Los Angeles County? I will put Gavin Newsom's record up against anybody because anybody, even a fellow Democrat, is probably better than Gavin Newsom, given his disastrous performance. And I remember it wasn't too long ago Gavin Newsom was trying to paint himself as a moderate. Give me a break. What, you have Charlie Kirk on? You're just trying to get in front of a bigger audience. You're trying to go viral. That's exactly what he did. He's trying to position himself as the front runner for 2028. Oh, please let it be Gavin Newsom. Please. When even Joe Scarborough, Morning Joe, is having a complete meltdown about how bad these numbers are that we did in the last segment for the Democrats, and he's blaming Gavin Newsom.
Like, you're trying to do everything to distract the American people from the fact that you're screwing up on job one. And job one is helping working Americans and helping the middle class afford their lives and build a life where their children are going to live better than them. That's the American dream. And you have done nothing but play politics over the past year and a half. It's really not that hard to do.
We'll see.
It's really not. Cut and paste. It's really not hard to do. And I would be telling the Republicans the same thing if Democrats were off over here. It's not hard, but I don't know why they, like Gavin Newsom, he wants to own Donald Trump. He wants to be Donald Trump like. You can't be Donald Trump like. Hey, Gavin, talk into the camera and talk about making life more affordable, not only for people in California, but if you want to talk about people in New Hampshire, our people in Iowa, our people in South Carolina, they would like to know how their lives can be more affordable. Not how you can own Donald Trump. Donald Trump is not running again. These Democrats, who I have called Chuck Wepner instead of Muhammad Ali, Chuck Wepners, they're the ones that are running again. They're the ones that are in the boxing ring with Democrats, not Donald Trump.
it does seem, and we'll see if Democrats are taking note.
Yeah, exactly. You can't be Donald Trump, Gavin Newsom. Robin Lakewood chimed in on the text line. He said, during COVID, Newsom's kids stayed in private school. Exactly. When he shut down everybody else's schools, he sent his kids to private schools. If Gavin Newsom didn't have double standards, he'd have no standards at all. When we come back, my friends, more of your texts, more of your calls, plus how Seattle manufactured a youth mental health crisis. Tell you all about it. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, coming up at 5:45, your chance to win fantabulous prizes, including a $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card, plus so much more. Yeah, another reason. Always keep your radio tuned to 570 KVI left on your dial, always right on the issues. You can also stream us at KVI.com, download the KVI app, and, of course, subscribe on whatever your preferred podcast platform is. Over on the Warrior Injury Law text line, I love what you guys think about my Gavin Newsom impression. Jeff in Kent says I sound like that Harry Potter character, Barty Crouch Jr. That's very good. Very, very good. Very good. This one from John in Auburn. Ari, your Trump is better. You still need Shane Gillis. I don't think I've reached out to Shane Gillis, but we should have him on the show. That'd be pretty entertaining, I think. Yes, exactly right. This one here. Okay, Art, you win text of the day. So he's talking about how the Microsoft campus was invaded by Hmasniks, and they were in the middle of having a farmer's market, and the Hmasniks showed up and shut down the farmer's market. Art says over on the text line, I guess you could say they disrupted a food shipment to Microsoft. Oh, that's very good. That's very, very good. This one from the 253 says there's protesters on an overpass in Fife and Gig Harbor. Yes, I flipped them off. No muttering for me. This one here from the 206. Ari, the Mormons would really appreciate being called Latter-day Saints. Mormons was their nickname back in the day. Thank you. I will try to make the appropriate thing if and when that ever comes up again. I don't foresee it coming up anytime soon, but thank you. That is very, very good feedback. Switching gears over to a news story. I went to the doctor for my annual physical, and they had me fill out all this paperwork, or I should say online work, which I haven't done in a long time, and I noticed the form looked very, very different. I said, nothing's changed. You know, it's usually, just an update in your conditions. You know, are you taking any new medication? You have any new conditions? Anything bothering you? We should do during your annual physical. And I said, I'm fat. Can we do anything about that? Can I lose some weight here? But they had all these mental health-esque questions. And what was weird was, I'm thinking to myself, you think you're going to diagnose depression from this? Do you feel sad? No. I might feel sad later. I might have felt sad earlier. I don't feel sad now. I don't feel sad right now. The questions are bonkers crazy. And I'm thinking to myself, why would they put all this stuff on here? And I realize why they put all this stuff on here. Nobody's actually checking it except for statistics. They want the statistics to say this many people suffer from depression, which we diagnosed off a sheet of paper without actually talking to the patient. And then my wife and I were discussing this, and she said, do you realize what they're doing? They're doing this stuff with the kids, too. So they could say this many kids suffer from depression. This many kids have the symptoms of anxiety and depression. And I've seen now three articles in the past few days from the Seattle Times about youth mental health. This is the new grift. Now, nobody's asking, hey, is being called a racist in school all day by your teachers affecting your mental health? Is being called a colonizer all day by your teachers affecting your mental health? Is being said that you're inferior because you're white or not getting special treatment because you're white, because you're straight, because you're male, because God knows what, is that affecting your mental health? Is your teachers not talking about math, science, any of that kind of stuff, but instead just talking to you about anarchy affecting your mental health, or BLM, or Hamas, or who knows what? So you realize what this is. This is the new grift. What they want to do is say we need more funding for youth mental health. Because who's going to vote against the children? Oh, the children! Has anybody around here ever found a tax increase they didn't like? Let's stamp the date and time. August 21st, 2025 at 5:42 p.m. So, August. I want to remember this in January when the legislature comes back. Because you know what you're going to start hearing? Bills out there for taxes to fix problems with youth mental health. I was talking to some friends of mine recently, several anecdotal stories about how cities are now having, in the middle of nowhere, like Bozeman, Montana, are now having massive homeless problems. They're not homeless. They are taxpayer-funded drug addicts who are being brought in because they have realized the homeless industrial complex grift. If you have a whole bunch of taxpayer-funded drug addicts wandering around, then people will pay thinking they're paying for treatment, thinking they're paying for affordable housing. These other cities, these smaller cities, these places in the middle of nowhere have figured out the grift. Well, if all these big cities are making the money, why don't we make the money for the small cities? So what they are doing is they are incentivizing people to stay drug addicts. They are encouraging people to stay drug addicts. They're not trying to get them off the streets. Instead, what they're saying is, if you're a drug addict, we'll give you affordable housing. We'll give you 3 hots and a cot in a hotel, in an apartment overlooking Green Lake. In fact, we'll give you all the paraphernalia you need to do more drugs. They really are taxpayer-funded drug addicts. And these other cities have realized we can tax people for this. And they don't want to be called non-compassionate. So what we're going to do is we're going to tax people for this. I feel so dumb when I ran for Seattle City Council, not seeing some aspects of this sooner. I was a threat to them. I was a threat to their money, so they had to destroy me. And they had to say, oh, Ari doesn't want to help homeless people. Ari's not compassionate. We want to give them treatment. Really? How's that working out so far? If you really want to give them treatment, you would stop giving them the drug paraphernalia. But this thing with the kids, with the mental health stuff, that's going to be the new grift. That's going to be the new grift, just like Bob Ferguson's hate crimes hotline. That thing's not being monitored. They're just pulling the data out of it. They're just pulling the data out of it. So you're going to see some kind of legislation. We need to deal with the hate crimes because the hate crimes hotline says we have so many hate crimes. It's not verified. It's not fact check. But somebody called me up and said they were triggered by the Ari Hoffman show. Just wait for the new legislative cycle. Just wait, guaranteed. And if not in this one, it'll be in the next one. Guaranteed. Only good news to wrap up the show. Your good news giveaway, your good news headlines, your chance to win a $50 Daniels Broiler gift card, plus so much more. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. It is time to feel good as we wrap up another amazing episode of the Ari Hoffman Show right here on Talk Radio 570 KVI. And before we get to our good news giveaway, before we get to our good news headlines, Mike Kerb sent this text. He goes, I want to hear you do an argument between Trump, Inslee, and Newsom. Not today. Not at the end of the show. We should do that sometime. Like that time, you guys had me argue between Newsom and, not Newsom, you guys had me argue between Inslee and somebody else, or Inslee talk about something at the last big KVI event we had before an election. Yeah, we should do that another time. I'll save that for an in-person event, Mike. That is kind of funny, though. Switching gears, In-N-Out Burger opened yesterday in Ridgefield, Washington. Now, if you actually went to this thing and you waited in line for a really, really long time, I want to know if it was worth it. Did it live up to your expectations? So text us at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. I don't want to hear from you if you've had In-N-Out Burger before. I want to hear from you if you went to this In-N-Out Burger. Was it worth it? Especially if you never had it before. According to Como News, In-N-Out officially opened the doors to its newest location, Ridgefield, Washington, on Wednesday morning, and most customers said the process was pretty easygoing in spite of concerns about traffic. Fans lined up hours before the fast food franchise opened its door earlier than initially anticipated to accommodate the crowds. There was also trailers selling special merch for the grand opening of Washington's first In-N-Out location. Mr. KVI himself told us yesterday the same thing happened when they opened Krispy Kreme here in Seattle. I wasn't around for that time. Krispy Kreme, I've been converted over. I've been converted for the Dunkin' to the Krispy Kreme. I will admit, Krispy Kreme infinitely better. I am now Mr. Krispy Kreme. On Monday, the Ridgefield Police Department Chief, Kathy DeRote, said that officers and Washington State troopers would be on site to help with the expected traffic increase. Yeah, we're here to help with the traffic, just like all my friends who are police officers are there to help do security at the Mets games. Yeah, that's why they're there. I understand. I get the excitement of wanting to be here opening weekend. She said this is a burger establishment that is going to be open here for a long time. So there's going to be a lot of opportunities to come get burgers. Right now, traffic is going very well. They have a really good crew. It's not the first time they've done this, and you can tell that because they do a very good job of getting people in and out quickly. Oh, I see what you did there. Customers said the wait was about 2 to 3 hours all day. Wait, what? That doesn't sound very efficient. That's not in and out. I think In-N-Out in the city of Ridgefield did a great job. I thought I would go onto that the line would go onto the I-5, but it didn't, one customer told KATU News while picking up his order to go. Officials told KATU that there will be one drive-through lane, indoor seating for about 70 people, and a covered patio with seating for nearly 30 people. The chief said there will be overflow lots to the north of the business, which will accommodate at least a few hundred cars. He said there's a lot of construction in the area, and they asked drivers to use caution. She added that the parking in the Costco parking lot isn't allowed. That's right. Don't go gum up Costco because you want a burger. In-N-Out announced that they would be coming to Ridgefield in April of 2024. I remember when we did that story at the time. It's great to see that they are open. Now, they are open. They're slated to open another restaurant in Southwest Washington, but they're looking at a place in Vancouver off of Mill Plain Boulevard, but an opening date has not been set yet. So, bailing on California, but coming on over to Washington? That's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for them. Meanwhile, in other food news, this one from WKRC, a previously short-lived fan favorite item, made a quiet return to the Taco Bell menu without much fanfare. It's only available for a limited time. After a brief introduction in 2024, Taco Bell's cheesy street chalupas vanished as quick as they arrived, but fans who missed out on the limited time item now have another chance for them. They went on sale August 14th and will remain for an unspecified amount of time. Guys, it doesn't seem like a lot of you actually went to this In-N-Out Burger thing. Mike, have you had an In-N-Out Burger before? Is that a place you have frequented before?
Well, I wouldn't say I've frequented because there isn't one in my state.
That's what I'm saying.
But yeah, I've had from time to time. I've been to California a time or two.
Sure. I was going to say, does it live up to the hype, or it's just a fast food burger?
Fine.
It's fine.
It's
just
fine.
Just one of those kind of things. Okay.
Yeah, I've never understood the mystique. Oh, man, the secret menu and the animal style. Shut up. It's a hamburger. Whatever.
That's like how I feel about McDonald's. Oh, my God, McDonald's. And all you people are like, What the hell's wrong with you? It's McDonald's.
Very much the
There's
same
one on
thing,
every
yeah.
corner. Before I forget, your chance to win fantabulous prizes today. We are giving away a $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card. Daniel's Broiler has been a Seattle favorite since 1980. Features USDA prime steak and other specialties, including chicken and fresh seafood, as well as a selection of high-end spirits, wine, and cocktails. Daniel's Broiler is open now in Bellevue, downtown Seattle. Leschi and South Lake Union with dine-in, takeout, and delivery. Check out danielsbroiler.com to reserve a table, place your takeout, delivery order, and more. We're also giving away a copy of 7 Steps to a Successful Retirement by Brian Evans of Madrona Financial and CPAs. Learn how to design your retirement to support your quality of life for 30-plus years from Brian Evans of Madrona Financial and CPAs, a local company working to help you grow deep financial roots so future financial storms don't blow your life savings away. Visit madronafinancial.com for more information and discover how you can create a rooted wealth plan today. All you have to do in order to win these fantabulous prizes, be caller number 10 at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Caller number 10 will win a $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card and a copy of 7 Steps to a Successful Retirement by Brian Evans of Madrona Financial and CPAs. Phone lines are open now. Give Mike a call for your chance to win at 206-421-5757. That's going to do it for us today, my friends. Fear not. We'll be back tomorrow with more insane stories, more exciting guests, and, of course, more giveaways. You've been listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI.